County Commissioners meeting to order. Sheriff will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first order of business this evening is area plan.
We have several requests for extensions of surety. The first one is C-20-04, commercial entrance at 2899 Asbury Cemetery Road. As posted by River City Wireless by Rodney Nicholson, the owner. We're holding $6,604.45 in escrow, guaranteeing entrance construction. They've had 1 year and 4 months. They're requesting a 1-year extension at the same dollar amount. This surety expires June 5th of 2021. And the county engineer has signed off that dollar amount would be sufficient.
Anyone present?
Is anybody here for River City?
I think so.
I don't see
I
them.
don't see
Oh,
him.
there he is.
River City, you're on deck. I mean, you're up.
Rodney, you're up.
Rodney?
Where you been?
I've been riding my motorcycle around the courthouse out here. It's a nice view.
Well, you're late.
Evidently I am. Sorry about that. Rodney Nicholson, River City Wireless.
Dollar amount is sufficient.
I have no problem with it. So I make a motion to extend the surety.
Second?
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye, motion carries 3.
What am I here for?
You can go back to
now,
riding.
you can go back and ride.
Go back and ride?
Yeah.
Was,
Your surety's been extended.
Yeah, you're
okay, I got you for the
letter
blower.
credit
Yeah,
for the
I got
drive.
you. Yeah, I think we've got something else as well. In a little bit. Go ahead, do your
Very
thing.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rodney.
No, it's not. Not right.
Okay.
Okay, our next one's a commercial entrance, C-20-043 at 3788 Venetian Drive, Danco Construction, Inc. by Chris Lastly, P.E. We're holding $8,569 in escrow, guaranteeing entrance construction. They have had 1 year, and they're requesting 1 year at the same dollar amount. Surety expires July 10th of 2021. County engineer has signed off on this dollar amount as well.
Oh, yeah, this is under construction still. I'd recommend approval.
Make a motion to approve C-20-043 for the extension.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion 3-0.
Our next one is Meyer Warrick subdivision. It's by Meyer Stores Limited Partnership by Michael Kinstall, VP of Real Estate. We're holding 2 letters of credit for commercial entrance at $85,000 and drainage construction at $214,000. They've had 6 years and they're requesting 1 year at the same dollar amount. These letters of credit expire June 27th of 2021, and the county engineer has signed off on those dollar amounts, and the county surveyor has signed off on the drainage amount.
Any comments, Bobby?
Dollar amount is sufficient.
So can I ask a question on this? So this has been 6 years. Obviously, these figures were 6 years ago.
Yes,
Oh, so the dollar amount is still good 6 years later.
yes.
Is anybody here from Myers?
My name is John Scheidler. I'm actually with Wolpert. We're a engineering consultant for Meyer.
Okay. I have a question. When are you guys gonna start breaking ground or moving dirt?
Meyer doesn't have a specific date yet. I know the site has been kind of dormant for a while, but they have recently engaged us to start looking at some things to get going again on that. So
On that particular site?
yes.
Okay. Okay, well, it's good to know, because we get a lot of questions and
Sure.
if they're coming or if they're not, and that kind of thing. So,
Yep. Understand.
okay.
Any questions?
I make a motion to extend the letter of credit.
And I'll second.
A first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our last one's for Oak Park subdivision. It's Oak Park Development LLC by Dan Buck, manager. We're holding a letter of credit in the amount of $77,741.40 for street and drainage construction. They've had 5 years and 6 months. They're requesting 6 months at the same dollar amount. This expires June 10th of 2021. Those dollar amounts have been signed off on.
So Bobby, do you want to explain the 6-month
Sure.
extension or? you want me
Sure.
to?
The last extension, they had done some work. Upon inspection, the work was a little bit deficient. So they have to replace some of all of the asphalt surface in the development. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get some milling machines rented so they can operate them. And then they think it will probably be another month or two. But 6 months puts them through the construction season and prepares them for any weather that may occur. But they need to fix some of those issues. And then I believe there's some drainage issues as well that we're addressing with them.
Very good.
That was kind of what was worked out with everybody there that day. So, okay. So I make a motion to extend the 6-month extension for their letter of credit.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
That's all we had.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Next order of business is the approval of minutes for our May 10th, 2021 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the May 10th, 2021 regular session minutes.
I'll second.
First and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Talk to that boy's mama.
Next order of business is our consent agenda. Roger?
Thank you, Mr. President. Only wanted, under the consent, that's approval of the quarterly pest control services agreement with ARAB. Pest control is for the stormwater building. And I emailed the agreement to you and Todd and others on May 13th. Terry signed it per Dan giving his approval, so Steve is committed, Steve Sherwood, director of that department, is committed to paying for these pest control services.
We have all of our buildings accounted for now.
I hope so. I think so.
Very good. So that's the only item. for
That's the only
consent
one we
agenda.
got under the consent.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Moving on to county administrator items, discuss approval of the Warrick County Commissioner's new Nutanix renewal quote. The number listed there, that's with Keller Schrader. You tabled it at your May the 10th meeting, and I do know that President Philippi met with Heather and Guy with Ty Eblin of Keller Schrader to discuss this and other issues. So I'd let him handle this one.
Yep, so we thought it was a little bit of money, and I wanted to see if we could kind of line out the dates and the termination dates on all of our contracts with Keller Schrader. Quick answer is no, we can't, because they get passed through. This is from Nutanix. Keller Schrader writes it because they're the local partner. They actually don't even get paid anything on this unless they do work under the agreement. So it's basically just a pass through, and the terms are what they are. What was the amount again?
The amount is $9,463.43.
And that was for the server and the
That
3.
included the server and 3 licenses, pro entitlement.
For each memory bank.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we have approved services agreement with Beaver Lawn, Lake and Forestry Services LLC for annual treatment of Scales Lake. I sent a copy of the agreement to you on the May 19th. The aquatic service in the agreement is listed as algae control and lake dyeing. The cost is $7,200, and Audrey did confirm that they pay for that out of their budget. I did send it, as I said, to Todd. It's a simple one page. Well, it's got one front page and then it has terms and conditions.
Just on item 4, the terms, Roger, refers to 2 terms that seem out of place. Maybe we just correct it with them. It refers to Home Diagnostics LLC
I see that.
and an inspector. But it's otherwise in proper form for the commissioners to approve. Just asking Roger to correct those terms.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the aquatic service agreement for Scales Lake with the corrections as stated by council.
I'll second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Todd, I could have Terry sign the actual services agreement and then wait to get the terms corrected for him to sign that one.
Certainly.
Or could he strike those
You just strike
Strike
it
them.
and send it back that way.
Okay.
and initial it, or Terry initial it, and you guys?
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Next is approved State of Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs Community Development Block Grant. It's a lengthy number, A192-21-CB-CB3-376. That's in the amount of $250,000. Terry signed it electronically on May 21st, and I now have a hard copy for the file. I sent it on in to include Bob and Dan, Todd, and others. It's for COVID-19 Phase 3 assistant grants to small businesses to help them retain positions held by at least 51% LMI persons. That's low to middle income.
So what have we approved prior to the application of the grant? And now we're just approving
Yes, yeah, we have the coalition, $6,250 of that grant is for their grant administration services. So, you did, approve the grant application, and it took some time for it to get approved, which obviously it just did.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the Okra grant.
Second.
Well, first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. Last item I have, I wasn't sure if the board wanted this on the agenda, but it is a proposal from Sprinklers Plus to Courthouse Lawn Irrigation System installation. I sent that to you on May the 18th, but I know that talking to Commissioner Saylor, he stated that we did receive quotes from 2 other companies, and they were much higher than what we have from Sprinklers Plus. That said, do you want me to state those in the meeting, Sprinklers Plus?
I think so, because while I can't locate the 5-star estimate, I know I have it. Both those estimates were almost double what Sprinklers Plus. So we feel with seeing those 3 estimates that this is the vendor we want to use. They've come back at the lowest by substantial amount for the same.
The third one, I think, was Matt Wisner, New Growth.
Yeah, and he gave a quote between 20 and 25,000. And so, again, that was substantially higher.
Did you want to include, there's an upgrade to Wi-Fi controller?
Yes.
Okay.
We just don't want to add the fertilization option.
All right, that's 2,450, so we're striking that.
Striking that, correct.
Okay. So the other parts are grass price, 9,975.
Yep.
Upgrade to Wi-Fi controller,
Yep,
350. Add drip irrigation to 4 flower beds.
yes.
That's 1,300. And install boost pump if necessary.
That's where they don't know. He doesn't think that they'll have to install that.
Okay.
But let's approve it based on their
Until they
discretion.
find out.
Because all the quotes were, they all had that as an option.
Okay. And that was $900 for that particular
Right.
option.
I think that's probably why he asked me what size line we put in, right?
Yes, yeah. And so Terry has facilitated the installation of the meter, and that's been completed.
Right.
So we're really ready to go. So, and that will be paid for by the bond contingency fund, so that won't be,
Okay.
that's kind of been in our budget all along. If we had money left from the project, and we do.
All right, sir.
I make a motion to approve the proposal from Sprinkler Plus Courthouse Lawn Irrigation. I also might say that estimate was what, over a year old, Roger? And he honored the same price. And I know
the
one of the.
date-
Well, he
Date on it.
gave it to us last year, I know.
Yeah, it was emailed to you and Heather per request from Terry for her to contact this company. So because of the date on here just says 17:29, and that's
Yeah.
more like a time.
Yeah. So I just thought that was pretty interesting when I talked to one of the other vendors, and they said that the prices went up on PVC pipe substantially, and they were quite surprised that the other vendor honored the same price. So I thought,
That's stockpile.
yes. So I just wanted to put that in the record that I thought that's
Okay.
pretty good of that vendor to honor that same price, because he could have raised it easily.
So you made a motion.
I made a motion.
Second?
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's all I have.
All right, let's see. Next item of business is our county attorney.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ms. Brennan. If I would, I'd like to go a little out of order because Mr. Seth Zirkle is here for the town of Chandler. If we do item number 3, which is the First Amendment to the EMS station lease agreement, and Mr. Zirkle will come up and will probably help me introduce the situation to you because the county has a 50-year lease with the town for the EMS station, and some happenings are going on with regards to that track and the parent track, and maybe Mr. Zirkle can explain it to you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Seth Zirkle from Jackson Kelly, in my capacity here tonight, this afternoon, representing the town of Chandler. Thank you, Commissioners, for your time in advance. As Mr. Attorney noted, the town of Chandler and Warrick County are subject to a 50-year lease with a 50-year renewal term. So none of us in this room will even be here when the first term expires, let alone the term is renewed. This is for the EMS station, and I apologize, Commissioners, there is a packet, and at the top is the underlying lease, the original lease, and behind that, you'll see some additional documents, and I'll just quickly walk you through those. But in 2010, the county and the town of Chandler entered into a lease for approximately 0.4 acres property on State Street in Chandler. And subsequent to the lease being executed back in 2010, an EMS station was built and has been operated on that site for quite some time. In my discussion, Mr. Attorney has indicated that the county, much to the happiness of the town of Chandler, has invested a considerable amount of money in that property, I think north of $400,000. Now, under the terms of that 2010 lease, the county was granted a right of first purchase. And that right is for no consideration, effectively $1. Now, unbeknownst to the town of Chandler, back in early 2020, the town entered into negotiations and subsequently entered into a purchase agreement for the abutting approximate 4.6 acre tract. So if you can mentally think of driving north on State Street, you're going to pass the EMS station there to your left, and right beyond that station, just to the north, is an open field. And that is the approximate 4.6 acre lot that we're under contract to sell. The buyer developer has put in considerable amount of time and resources into running its diligence in that property. It is expected to be a good thing for the town. is going to be income producing by way of tax revenue. The developer intends to put a multifamily low-income housing, partial low-income housing project on that, and has been awarded low-income housing tax credits from the state of Indiana. The developer is currently has a plat pending before the town's planning commission to parcelize that total 5-acre tract. Now, I'm before you tonight because unbeknownst to the town, the lease was in place, and we realized once we realized the lease was in place, we discovered that the leased premises description does not exactly comport with the plat description. And the second item in there is actually a drawing that Morley has provided, and the commissioners, you'll see there the EMS station is depicted. And then you'll see the lease premises perimeter. It says resolution. That was actually the resolution that was passed in 2010. But under the lease, you'll see that the lease premises falls entirely within the bounds of the plat. And so in discussion with both our potential buyer as well as the town of Chandler, it was agreed that the preferred path forward for the town and the developer would be to propose an amendment to the lease, which would effectively result in the county obtaining approximately 0.19 acres of additional leased area, and for no additional monetary consideration, given the de minimis area and its location, the fact that there's not any practical value on the open market on that area. Since that time, that decision was made, the town of Chandler, last Monday evening's meeting, undertook an authorizing resolution approving an amendment to the lease, subject obviously to the commissioner's consideration of it and any comments from the county attorney's office, to revise the lease to provide the county with a larger lease premises. In addition to that, the 2010 lease provided the county with a right of entry onto the abutting 5-acre tract. And that was because at the time, it was not entirely clear if the county would need access to the larger tract to satisfy any stormwater, green space, setback requirements. And so under the lease, there was a right of entry on that tract. So certainly the continued ability to exercise that right of entry would frustrate the ability for our buyer to close and develop that abutting parcel. So I enlisted the assistance of the Director of Stormwater Management for the town to confirm that there are no issues, open issues or historic issues with compliance by way of either stormwater runoff retention requirements, setback, or green space. Mr. Fisher has confirmed as much. And so the lease also the proposed lease amendment would also amend the lease to remove that right from the underlying 2010 lease because it's not needed. It's, the building's been there now since early 2011. It is in compliance with all code requirements. And so the proposal would be to strike that provision from the lease. So to summarize, I've also provided you with a larger printout of the proposed plat, and you'll see there the location of the station, as well as the significantly larger side yard to the north that will result from that. In closing, the final thing I would note, Commissioners, is that under the 2010 lease, the county was granted, as part of its lease premises, an easement area to the rear of the lease premises that would then traverse to the west, the westerly boundary, and then go north approximately 217 feet. At the time that the lease was entered into, there were no underground utility facilities in that area. Since that time, they have been installed. They do service the station exclusively. Rob Coghills and his crew went out last week to confirm that those utility facilities are entirely within the bounds of the easement as it appears on the plat. And upon the recordation of that plat, it would become a dedicated utility easement of record. So the county would continue to have and enjoy the rights accorded to the leased premises by virtue of that easement dedication appearing on the plat. At this point, I'll go ahead and be happy to address any questions or comments, concerns that you gentlemen may have.
Gives us more to mow.
I've got a comment or a question, and I'm sure you don't have the answer, but our maintenance staff who does mow the EMS station, has commented that I believe on the south border of our piece,
Uh-huh.
that it's perpetually wet. Have you heard them say that? Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So I guess my question is, are you allowed to divulge the developer's name? It'd be nice to know that if there's something in the ground there that's causing.
Yeah,
perpetual-
the developer is Keller Development.
Okay.
And they, my understanding is that as of today, I mean, as of last week, they have undertaken all of their diligence undertakings. But, certainly Keller's been cooperative with the town. But yeah, Keller Development is the buyer of that.
I'd like to make sure that if there's a problem, that we don't necessarily get stuck with it, or
Sure.
or can solve the problem if
Sure.
there's one there.
And Keller is aware of the station, obviously. I mean, they've done their site work and they are aware of the county's option to purchase. And that was one thing I didn't mention, is the other aspect of all of this is that the county, like I said, was afforded the right to purchase. The town has issued its notice to the county that we are on the town is under contract. Unfortunately, the right is not clearly drafted, because the county's right is actually triggered when the town sells the dirt. But we've got to give you notice 90 days prior. But then you, the county, would have to give notice of its election to exercise the right 60 days prior. Which begs the question, what happens if we never close with our buyer? Now, by all accounts, we fully anticipate that this buyer will go forward. They have, like I said, they've undertaken their diligence. Now, that said, their diligence period expires in August, early August. And under our purchase agreement, the closing date would be the first Tuesday after Labor Day. So that's September 7th, I believe. So that's the outside closing date. But like I said, they've done, to my knowledge, all their site work. At this point, the only remaining, quote, open item is their pending subdivision plat, which we've postponed due to this unexpected discovery of addressing the lease.
Mr. President, did you say that was on the south?
That's what I believe. I'm not 100% sure.
You know,
about that.
Terry, I think you're talking about kind of like right in here.
And that's a
I
shared
think I
boundary
did,
with the
right here.
property owners to the south of them.
I apologize. So the west side, I'm
West.
sorry.
West?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute, let me
West,
see.
okay.
Which way is this?
And I have not seen a site plan. I do know that as part of their submission to IHCDA for the low-income housing tax credits, that would have been part of the submission. So I'd be happy to provide contact information. Let you guys look at that.
So I guess here is where the,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I suppose we can probably chase that issue down,
Mhm.
but unless Mr. Zirkle would describe it some other way, I think what first matter at hand isn't necessarily deciding whether or not you wish to exercise your option. I think we need to amend the lease agreement as Mr. Zirkle has proposed. I think he and I still have to do a couple things with it. Maybe we should take the opportunity to amend the lease agreement, maybe clarify when we're to exercise the option. Perhaps
Sure.
we could do that. We recommended one other edit to the amendment to dealing with the option. Mr. Zirkle and Mr. Fisher, we thank him for coming today too. Want to assure the county that the stormwater issues have been, we're in compliance and there's no issues there. So there's no need for any continuing right on the lot that they're selling. And we can maybe even address the easement dedication, perhaps. But I would recommend that with your approval, we work those final details out of the First Amendment and get that in place for your approval. And we could easily do that.
Sure.
And that will address the option issue, and that'll help Mr. Zirkle and I know when you need to make the decision if you wish to exercise that option and actually get notice of it.
I'm good with that, all of that, and I will say that I'm familiar with the Keller Group, and they seem to be good people. I've had dealings with them in the past, so.
Does that timing work for the town?
It does. I respectfully request anything we can do to expedite. So again, this came up unexpectedly. Originally, and actually one of the principals from Keller, Greg Majowski, actually drove down from Fort Wayne to meet with the public at the public hearing that was held. And that public hearing has been tentatively continued. We had hoped to have the meeting on June the 7th. But in order to meet that, we have a statutory notice requirement that notice would need to go out effectively this week.
So can't we give you the authority to make the changes on our behalf and have Commissioner Phillips sign it and put it on our consent
By
agenda?
motion, move to approve the First Amendment to the lease agreement and authorize Mr. Philippi to enter into it on behalf of the county with the stated improvements made.
I make that motion as stated by council. You want to repeat it, Bob?
Please do. I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
My motion carries 3-0.
But that'll keep us moving,
Sure.
Seth, and we'll talk to you tomorrow about
Excellent.
those fixes, and
Yep.
we'll move forward.
I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. President. Then backtracking. I got 3 copies of the proposed ordinances coming your way that you may have seen already. Perhaps needing a number today would be the new ordinance establishing weight limits for chip and seal roads.
And the number would be 2021-22.
And I've handed out all my copies of that. But I don't know if Bobby is still reviewing this for final edits, but it's an ordinance by the Board of County Commissioners amending Title 7 of the Code of Ordinances of Warrick County, establishing various weight restrictions for county roads and making other improvements, setting vehicle limits of 10 tons or 20,000 pounds across county highways, but also adding provisions for vehicles of 12 tons or 24,000 pounds, requiring road usage agreements with the Highway Superintendent's Office before operating those sorts of vehicles. It also provides other provisions for entering into the road usage agreements and fees for those road usage agreements, and a new clause for repetitive hauling issues. And it's possible that the board and Mr. Howard needs to work through these issues still. I don't know if it's necessarily rip-raring to go or not.
Bobby, do we need some more time? Or?
We certainly need to establish a fee rate for entering into a road usage agreement for vehicles in excess of 12 tons. But I think the provisions for Section 70 of the code does give the highway superintendent more latitude and ability to address these issues, both for weight limits, larger vehicles in excess of 12 tons, and also the new provision for repetitive hauling, which also does destruction of the county roadway.
I like the 12 tons regardless of posted weight restriction. That's basically that makes any county road that's non-commercial 12-ton weight limit.
Bobby, silly question, but does that exclude service vehicles? For instance, trash pickups or gas?
It has in the past as they're doing running their service routes the same way as if houses are being built and concrete trucks are needed to, as long as
Okay.
they're doing their
But not for repetitive use.
right.
Okay, gotcha.
Repetitive use is more or less someone hauling dirt over the same roadway several times in a day. I think to just define that, I didn't get that far. Oh, basically whatever.
I understood Mr. Howard explain that he doesn't necessarily, his office doesn't necessarily know when repetitive hauling projects are starting or stopping, but sometimes he's made aware of these things. So I think his office needs some wide latitude to identify repetitive driving, operating, and hauling of these vehicles that might fit into the 70.07 amendment.
Yeah, so that's been an issue, and then there were other issues in the existing ordinance that were just outdated, so that brings those into compliance to more toward today's standards. Some of the older roadways have been improved since then, and some had 3 or 4 ton weight limits, and so they could either have been eliminated or brought up to the 10-ton weight limit.
You'll notice the schedule attached to Chapter 72. Mr. Howard's office has done a lot of work, and it's substantially different from the prior schedule and updated. If the proposed language meets with Mr. Howard's approval, we just need a fee rate for entering into road usage agreements under 70.06.
Is that substantially different than anything else that we already have for road use agreements, or is it just the same?
Currently, there is no fee.
No.
Oh, okay.
They just come in and we meet with them, or Roger will meet with them, and then Roger and I both sign off on the agreement.
But when we're dealing with a coal mine or something, there's fees in place.
Not for the road
Not
use
for the
agreement,
road use.
but for the, for road closures. They reimburse us certified mileage for the length of the closure because of the years that go by that we lose that maintenance because they close the road. But for a road use agreement, they just bond it. There's no fee involved for.
Right, the coal mine does, but now if somebody else uses the road, we're not requiring bonding from them.
For instance, logging or
The
something.
logging doesn't, but that is the only thing, because that was kind of considered like a farming type use. They were harvesting
trees.
But in these new scenarios, your road usage agreement could require bonding, right? But chances are, I could be wrong, but these types of scenarios might require the county to prepare the road usage agreement, and the administrative and other costs associated with entering into those. I believe Mr. Howard was just thinking an application fee of some sort would be
So
proper.
Bobby, let's just take that Meyer property for an example.
Mhm.
They gotta raise that 5 feet. They gotta bring in 3,000 cubic yards of dirt. So there's gonna be semis galore
Yes.
coming in. They can do that and not pay a fee.
They'd have to enter in a road use agreement and put up a bond.
Okay. All right. So that's my point. But they do that, there's still no cost to, for your time and
Right.
Needs to be a fee.
Now, on the smaller ones, like the loggers, just, when Bobby and I sit down, these are normally small businesses. They may only haul 2 or 3 loads a day at the most, and a lot of times they're not hauling triaxles or anything like that, but, so we just take them on a case-by-case basis. But the ones you're talking about, Dan, that's way different. You got
well,
repairs.
there's just a lot of undeveloped ground down there that's going to need to be raised that's have been sold, that is for sale, and that's what I'm just thinking. If there's thousands of cubic yards of dirt on those new roads down there on the wellness trail, I just want to protect it, and then I think there needs to be a fee because he's going to hammer. Bobby or Steve's going to have to go down there and inspect it. It's going to take their office time and that kind of thing. And to have a very minimal fee.
That's definitely not unreasonable.
That's just my thoughts.
So parlaying on a conversation that we've had this week, could we store those fees in anticipation of hiring an inspector at some point?
You didn't need a fund or line item, I would think.
I mean, I don't want to throw a stick in this folks here, but
If that's something that ought to be considered done, you could approve the ordinance and we could amend it to reflect different use of the funds.
Be the same thing as our building inspector. His fees goes into his line item. These fees could go into and help compensate for that.
Yep.
Fund it.
Or we can add that now and bring it back to the next meeting.
like I said, I don't want to throw a stick in this folks here, but just a thought.
Is this a time issue with this, Bobby?
We constantly have haulers hauling on these roadways.
Got a lot of issues up by me too with this, especially with, I mean, some of those logging trucks and things like that. I mean, they're coming out of there, you know, it's not 1 or 2 times a day.
Right, it's a bunch.
It's 1 or 2 times an
But-
hour.
But is that like they said, is that considered a crop? Is that considered a farming operation
Well,
legally?
I
no,
don't think so.
You don't think
It's
so?
not agriculture, I wouldn't think, but I'm no expert on that. I would think agriculture has to involve food.
That was just a past argument that was made to the
Yeah,
board at one time.
and to me, farming operations, you know, Bobby, he's spelled it out for me before, and that's any vehicle that has the agriculture tags on it. So they've already paid their fee. If you don't have an agriculture tag, then you shouldn't be hauling on those roads.
And tree folks don't have those tags.
That's correct.
wouldn't think so.
Neither do a lot of farm people.
Where does the fee go, or who would take in the fee? The commissioner's
Yeah.
office?
Well, we honestly have to get that figured out.
I'd be fine with talking about that as a phase 2 or whatever. we want to call
I
it.
think we can go ahead and look at this and approve it pending, I think we know that we've got to make some amendments to it.
Initial road usage agreement fee.
as far as just to encompass our time it takes to review, or?
Because they go out and videotape a haul route, inspect it before the haul, and monitor it during, and then go back after it's finished and video it again.
The two genders, 250.
It should reflect the office's anticipated administrative expenses associated with entering into the
Well-
the road use.
Well, you restate that, I restate my figure then, because Bob is expensive.
Your number was probably close.
I think,
For
you know,
the drive out there.
250, Bob's what I wrote down.
I'm good with that, except that, you know, we mentioned that Bobby would have to go out and inspect it I'm thinking more than once, he's gonna have to go out there and inspect
Sure,
it.
at least before and after, so that's two trips.
And if we've got a problem, it's
It's,
two times a week.
Yeah. So I'm not opposed to the 250 to 500 range. I think that would be a good range.
But you could argue that, I mean, their time and
well,
their equipment, everything is
could we do
budgeted
it,
for.
so if there's problems, that means there's issues that are all hauling too heavy or something or whatever, could we do the initial fee 250, and then if there's additional trips that he has to make because of an issue, could we say each trip is 125 or whatever? I don't
I
know.
guess, yeah.
Does that get too cumbersome,
Well,
Bobby?
Let's
Yep.
not sit here and solve this now. I mean, it's gonna take some discussion.
We can address that concern, for example, in the amendment.
So we're establishing the ordinance and an initial fee, correct?
Have $250 for road usage agreements and updating and amending Chapter 70 of the Warrick County Traffic Code with new traffic weight restrictions and updated schedules of weight restrictions that are currently in place.
Very good. Someone like to make that motion?
So moved, I will make that motion.
And I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next up is Resolution 2021-07. Which is a resolution of the Board of Commissioners, Warrick County, Indiana, establishing the policy by which members of the Board of Commissioners may participate by electronic means of communication. I can easily describe this update to the Code of Ordinances. In the past, you're able to participate in a Board of Commissioners meeting electronically, remotely. The state of Indiana has updated the statutes for electronic participation that now allows you to vote, even though you're electronically connected virtually to the meeting. No more than one commissioner can be virtually connected to a meeting, but up to one commissioner can be virtually connected to a public meeting. And with this update per Indiana statute, you now also may vote. You need to have the policy in place, however, to adopt the updates that have been recommended by the state.
So all of the other county boards presumably will pass their own resolution.
Yeah. This would just be for the Board of Commissioners, and I believe there's another phrase, also boards wholly appointed by the commissioners. Can't really give you an example of that. But, the solid waste district, Parks Board, et cetera, they would have to adopt their own policy.
Understood.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-07.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda, we have some updates to the county's relationship with Friends of Warrick County CASA. I know we have at least Mr. Bob Lacer here if you have any questions for them. In fact, maybe Mr. Lacer would like to describe briefly what has been going on with the updates to the Friends of Warrick County CASA entity. But I believe because of it, what's before the board is terminating the lease with Old National Bank and the sublease with Friends of Warrick County CASA, who will in turn enter into their own lease.
Thank you, sir. My name is Bob Lacer. I serve as president of Friends of Warrick County CASA. And if I may just update you a little bit of where we've been, where we are, and where we project to go, which is impacting some of the decisions you may have to make. CASA is a state mandated program. So it goes through government entities. And while it's state mandated, it's not fully state funded. So the role of Friends of Warrick County CASA is to come up with whatever funding we can to support to keep the program going. Needless to say, we wish we didn't have to have a program like CASA because it does work with abused and neglected children in Warrick County. But the facts being as they are, we do have to have a program like that. If it weren't for Friends of Warrick County CASA, CASA would operate, but on a very small scale. And it's not a job where you're done today and you go home and you're with your family and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the day till the next day. Many times our CASA staff work after hours. And the way we were formulated is that there was no full-time staffing. It was all part-time staffing. And our part-time staffers put in many hours beyond part-time, to the point now where the Friends of Warrick County Board has decided that we need to do something to if we're going to keep our staff, we need to do something to pay them for the many hours they work beyond that part-time status. And so what we have set out to do is to become a 501c3 program where we're fully nonprofit. Friends is not loaded with money. We have to have fundraisers like everybody else. The money that our CASA program receives is some from the state, some from the county council, and they've been very gracious in helping us. We have received some support from the county commissioners, which I think you're going to address today in the form of a building. Prior to 3 years ago, our CASA office was located in a small office in the courthouse. And we had three office people working there trying to conduct business. And if you knew the room, it was a closet, to be honest with you. Now, through some graciousness of Old National Bank, they've let us, given us a lease of their office suite upstairs at a very reasonable rate of $5,700 a year. And that's manageable for us. The Friends' goal is to put enough money aside to keep those doors open in the case everything falls apart, at least for 2 years. Because even though COVID may hit, abused and neglected children are still being affected. So we have to do whatever we can to keep the doors open.
Probably goes up.
Pardon me?
Probably goes up during.
And then she can speak, Diane can speak to that, yes. But the bottom line is we're going to have the program. And as it is now, our staff were running crazy trying to keep up with the numbers. All you have to have is one significant drug bust, and you may get 4 or 5 kids that you don't have anybody to work with them. And so that's Diane and her staff's job, is to find advocates to speak for them in the court system, to speak for them in the educational system, to hope that we can get this thing turned around for these kids. And I think we have a pretty good success rate, but it takes a large toll on our staff. So what the board has tried to do is to come up with funding and other ways of funding full-time staff members. And so we have a plan in place to do that. We have secured the funding that we have already had from the state and from the county council with Mr. Richmond. But we're still bare. We still don't have a lot of money extra. And so what the county commissioners have done in the past is provide a sublease for us for the office suite. which I think entails paying insurance for it, and there might be other things I'm not aware of also. But we're not in a position where we can afford any cuts. We're threadbare as it is. Like I said, we would like to, in 2 or 3 years, yes, be in a good place where we can say, okay, we're financially stable, but that's a long way away. We do have fundraisers throughout the year. So we have people on all sides trying to do what we can to provide for these kids through a lot of volunteers. And if you've never been to the CASA office, which is located on the 2nd floor of Old National Bank, I encourage you to go, because Diane and her staff have taken this office space and she's made it a clothes closet. She's made it a food closet. She's made it into any way we can try to address these kids' needs. We have a lot of civic organizations who help us out, churches who help us out. And it's the old adage, it takes a village to raise a family. Well, it does. These kids here, through no fault of their own, are in bad situations, and some they're bad. I'm just telling you, they're bad. And thank goodness we have people like Diane, who has a heart of gold to work with these kids, and she has staff members who are willing to work, but they need to be paid for what they're worth. So that's what Friends has tried to do, to become a 501c3 where we don't have to rely on other entities to provide our funding. We're trying to do it on our own, but we're not there yet. So anything that you all can do to help us at least try to get to that stage would certainly be appreciated.
So Bob asked me a question, before the meeting started. So, Counselor, we have a problem for paying for a non-county entity, right? How can we?
Yeah, I'm not personally familiar what support the county provides Friends of Warrick County. But they're entering into a lease with Old National Bank, so our lease with Old National Bank and our sublease with the Friends need to be terminated, I think, effective August 1st. I believe. That's, I've been made aware that a new lease has to be entered into. That's step one.
Hi, Diane Alexander with Warrick County CASA. I have not been made aware. I was made aware today of today's meeting today, and so I have not been made aware of the lease or the new lease agreement or anything else. So I'm not sure where all of this is coming from. So I don't know.
We just signed our lease.
Well, we just paid
our yearly lease last month.
Yeah, we just paid the rent for the year.
So let me ask a question. I'll clear something up in my mind. The name of the organization, Friends of Warrick County CASA.
So in the beginning, Friends was established as a 501c3, as a fundraising arm for Warrick County CASA, because we didn't have enough funds to get the program where we needed to be to serve 100% of our kids. So this last year, I asked Judge Granger, is there any way that we'll be able to see full-time positions in our office? Just the load that we're carrying is just not feasible at this point to continue that level of productivity. And I can honestly say in the last 2 years, we've served 100% of our abused and neglected kids here in Warrick County, the Warrick County CASA program has. And so Judge Granger said, no, that would not be feasible, that the county council, there's no funds for that. There's just no way that they would be able to pay for like the insurance and that stuff. So
what I'm trying to figure out is I thought that I'd heard somewhere along the lines, we've got Warrick County CASA, Friends of Warrick County CASA, and is there a new business entity?
What Friends has done is applied for a name change, and the name changes have been approved by the state. It'll just be Warrick County CASA Incorporated now.
Okay, so there's a new federal ID number.
There will not be a new federal ID number. It'll be the same federal ID number as Friends had previous. We just submitted the numbers to do a name change.
Name change.
Yep.
So you've been a 501c all this time?
Yes.
Friends has.
Yes. Friends has, Warrick County CASA, no.
Right.
The sublease was with Friends of Warrick County CASA. So that's what I was kind of not under the understanding of, it was already a 501 when the original sublease was signed. It was just under the understanding that the commissioners would pay for the insurance on the property, I guess is what it would be, since they signed the lease, and then Friends of Warrick County CASA would pay the rent with the sublease.
we had over 40 nonprofit requests for pandemic relief funds. You know, that means the commissioners, I don't see where the commissioners can legally pay for a nonprofit organization with county taxpayer dollars. Because that means these other 40 that reply can say, well, why aren't you paying our rent? Why aren't you paying something for our?
No, okay, so this is a question that I want to ask. It's a state mandated.
Right.
Does that change anything? Since it's mandated by the state, does that change how we can help CASA?
What's mandated?
So I have an MOU with the judge and Warrick County CASA Incorporated as well. You know, I don't know if you guys need to look that over or the contract that Judge Granger signed. You know, I'm just not sure if this program, if Friends is unable, if we're unable to meet the dollar mark to help continue to fund us, this reverts right back to Judge Granger's courtroom. So in essence, it will come back to the council and to the commissioners as well.
So step by step here, I guess, in my mind, I saw a new business name. I assumed there was a new business entity, a new federal ID number, and as a matter of legal, the lease needed to be changed. That doesn't sound like that maybe needs to
Yeah,
happen.
I don't know. I didn't dream this up. It got on my desk somehow. So I don't understand enough what's going on to advise you what you're supposed to be doing right now.
I would definitely be willing to have conversations, continue this conversation at a later date, at a later time. You guys are more than welcome to come over to our office, or we can meet with you however you'd like.
Diane, did you receive the $5,000?
I did, thank you.
I didn't even produce these letters of termination, but I reviewed them.
So yeah, let's get together and have a sit down, and I think I'm a little more clear than what I was.
Do we need to have Judge Granger in this meeting too?
I don't think it hurts,
Wouldn't hurt.
especially if there's a state
I think
mandated
so.
there.
Comes through his office.
Yeah, and then Bob, didn't you say it's mandated by the state?
State mandates that every county needs to have a CASA program.
In this meeting, I also suggest Judge Granger and bringing Crystal in.
Could you identify yourself, sir?
I'm sorry, Greg Richmond, Warrick County Council. I should know better. I know the council right now contributes to SERS, the 4-H, and senior citizens. And I'm not sure, but I believe that was moved over under economic development. So there is a way somehow or other to do this, and I'm not sure what the legals are. Our attorney has constructed a resolution to move the present funds they have deposited in their account somehow out to this new situation that they're forming. So I just saw that came down today, and I haven't read thoroughly the resolution, but I'll forward you the
That'd be
resolution.
great, because someone else is apparently of the opinion that there's something new going on too. So
Okay.
we'll just have to pin that down.
Yeah, we need to figure out the right way to do it, because I'm sure the council would like to continue helping this worthy organization out.
Well, I don't disagree. I think the commissioners are saying in the same boat. However, my concern was just like as Roger stated, there's a long list of non-for-profits out there.
Well, the actual acronym CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. So it has to go through the courts to even get the child in the system.
And those are excellent points. I mean, I think commissioners, the CASA is a great program. And I think we want to keep, I just want to make sure the commissioners in the county are protected.
We just need to do it right.
Sure.
Perhaps I can reach out to Roger and get something going.
Get them huddle up and kind of
Sure.
sit down. Let's figure out what we can do and what can be done, and that was the best way to do it.
That would be fantastic. Thank you guys for your
Thank you,
time.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, Diane.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next item I have is the approval for the final nonprofit pandemic relief fund grant applications. And with the anticipation that with the governor's end of the health emergency, if that is to come about here shortly, pandemic relief fund will terminate also. what Mr. Saylor and Mr. Richmond have reviewed and approved so far for this month, and the final reimbursements to the county would be to the Board of Commissioners for hotspot services for remote learning through Sprint, the Vigilon camera and software system, and computers for remote teleworking capabilities through CDW, reimbursements totaling $128,532.89, and the Superior Court number 1 reimbursements totaling $1,635. Those are the reimbursements. First, for the board, recommended by Mr. Saylor and Mr. Richmond for approval. And then secondly, I'll have the nonprofit grant requests.
Do we need to approve those first?
I think we've been approving them separate.
Separate, okay.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I will make that motion to approve those 3.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
And lastly, the 5 final nonprofit grant applications include the Warrick County Museum for $4,873.62. The God is Good Foundation Incorporated for $5,000. Habitat for Humanity of Warrick County for $5,000. Community Outreach Ministries for $5,000. And 2 grant requests that I have questioned whether or not Dan and Greg want to recommend for approval. One is Red Fox Track and Trail Incorporated for $5,000, and one is Encountering Hope Ministries Incorporated for $5,000.
Greg, did you get a chance to look at those?
Yes. The Red Fox, what was the other one?
Encountering Hope Ministries, which we did not get any paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen that
Without
one.
the paperwork, I mean, Encountering Hope, I think, is a worthy organization, but without the paperwork, and it was done real quick, they got it at the last minute from what I read. That's why they don't have the paperwork in, and you don't have another meeting before the deadline, to my knowledge. So to me, we can't do anything about that. The Red Fox, they're doing good things, but it looked like a 2-person organization, and I had some worries about it from the beginning, concerns, and then I got from John the information that he can't fully feel comfortable that we pass an audit with it, and from that information and my gut feeling, I just can't give my approval on it.
So Greg, let me interject something here. I'm kind of the one that spearheaded the Red Fox thing, and there's this is all done via email. If there's a way to possibly approve, and then I can sit down with you guys, and there's a lot more documentation than what you've actually seen. I know that. And these folks were going on vacation, and I literally was badgering them, give me the paperwork, as they're packing their suitcases. So I don't know if there's a way to approve it.
Certainly.
Pending the paperwork.
Yeah, you would approve it on condition that the financial documentation is provided before the nonprofit relief fund terminates.
Which would be in line with.
So all paperwork that is needed to approve, that we receive that.
You've done that on one other occasion.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, it'll pass the audit.
Yeah, they still would have to provide the necessary paperwork.
Okay.
Could Encountering Hope Ministries be the same? No.
I don't know anything about that one, so I
That
don't
was
want to
Hope
speak for
Central.
them. Oh, that's what that is?
Hope Central, that used to be located in Boonville and now is out by,
Okay.
that's Encountering Hope Ministries.
You could approve
We didn't get
both on
anything.
that same condition.
Same thing.
Yeah, same
Okay.
thing. I'm good. Okay.
So you have all the paperwork for Warrick County Museum, God is Good Foundation, Community Outreach Ministries, and Habitat for Humanity. And you can approve Red Fox Track and Trail and Encountering Hope Ministries on condition of provision of necessary paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 3-0.
And if I could, Mr. President, my numbers are not the numbers to rely upon, the auditor would be, but I believe you have roughly $715,000 remaining in the expense COVID line item. And of the $250,000 funded into the pandemic relief fund for nonprofits, you have $78,000 remaining that once it expires would revert back to the COVID expense line.
Thank you.
Thank you. On my final matters on the agenda, the next one says approval for authority to request ARP coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. I've been notified, thanks to the auditor's office, that's been requested through the U.S. Treasury's Department. So that's been done, taken care of by the auditor, and it's in the chute, I guess. And lastly, we have a collective bargaining agreement update between the Warrick County Sheriff's Office, jailers and dispatchers, and Teamsters Local Union number 215. There's been updates agreed to by both parties. The sheriff has approved all of these updates. It includes tying pay dates to the county pay dates. For example, for employees of Warrick County, the same pay dates and other bonus leave and overtime compensation terms. Mr. Shannon on my office has worked out with the Teamsters representative and the sheriff, and it is ready for your approval for signing on behalf of the county, and the sheriff will then countersign.
How many employees does that agreement encompass? You know, sure.
Sheriff Mike Wilder. I don't know the exact number. We have 18 jailers and 12 dispatchers, but it technically covers all of them, but not all of them are union employees, but they all fall under the union agreement. So if that answers that. Be 30.
You have anything else you want to add to this?
No, it's very similar to the past agreements. There's some very minor changes that were done, and I'm in agreement with it and everything that we changed.
Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing further.
Thank you. Next item is our county auditor.
Thank you. Debbie Stevens, Warrick County Auditor. I have the monthly treasurer's report to enter into the meeting, the records.
Thank you.
All right. We have non-certified claims. And we have two. One is Meritain, and that is, we talked briefly about this, a similar type claim where we can't tie back the type of coverage or active, an eligible employee for the medical benefits with the information we receive. So that particular claim is $95,029.09. And then we have an Office Depot for coffee, creamer, plates, coffee, $82, $3.43 for plates. I think there were a few other charges on here. Coffee creamer, $18.87. Another purchase of coffee, $61.50. Another $18.87 for creamer, $12.58. Sugar, cups, spoons, cups, $174.84. Total, this was an Office Depot purchase. The total for Office Depot is $496.13. Any questions on either one of those claims? Okay. Total of non-certifieds, $95,525.22. 95525.22.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to pay the non-certified claims.
Second.
Put a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. Certified claims total $1,430,461.07. 1430461.07.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
All right. I have payroll for today's date, Monday, May 24th. I have
Debbie, we've
four,
already reviewed everything that you've sent, so if you just want to present the number, that would work.
sure, which includes 4 non-certified due to no supporting documentation. $504,966.10. 504,966.10.
Make a motion to approve payroll.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Anything for me?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next item is County Highway Superintendent and Engineer, Bob Howard.
Okay, I think the first item on the agenda I have is the 2021 paving list. As you know, I've submitted that to you for review. This paving list encompasses 37.04 miles of road improvements at a cost of $4,015,604 plus $77,900 for annual road striping, to bring the total to $4,093,504. That number is based off of $2.707 million of edit with some local road and street encompassing our chip and seal and community crossings matching grant funds of $1.388 million. So we are under budget by roughly $2,000.
Pretty tight.
We need to approve this.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the 2021 paving list
Well, second.
as presented.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. The next item I have, you've already approved the proposal, but now I have the standard form of agreement for the Highway Department District 1 maintenance facility with Lamar Architectural and Design, and it's for the amount of $39,000.
How many square feet is that building?
I'd have to look. I thought it was like 150 by.
You know? Do you know?
That's my question. I haven't been.
Stormwater District 1 and a small spot for the sheriff or not?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's just stormwater in District 1, and then
Fuel
there'll be a
for the
fuel facility.
There was gonna be a restroom.
Yes.
That's okay, Bob. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, and then there's a clause in here, I believe, I noticed earlier, and I talked to Todd about that, but they were asking for $5,000 upon execution of the agreement, and I would ask that that be struck from the agreement.
Very good. Questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Our first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Bobby, can I ask you a question about paving?
Yes, sir.
If there was a reduction in edit monies and monies you receive to, that your department receives, what would happen to our paving list?
We would not be able to pave roads with,
So to keep things as they are, you would have to go to council and ask for money, or the roads don't get paved. Would that be a fair
I mean, it
statement?
depends on what type of reduction you're talking about, but over time, our road network will deteriorate. We currently have about 2.4 million in edit on this list, I think is what is annually projected right now over a 10-year term, roughly, that I have budgeted on for paving. And then, of course, all our federal aid projects would be at risk as well.
What about our bridges?
Our bridges, we use some of edit for bridge projects and some community capital development funds.
But a reduction or reallocation of those funds to some other project or something, would it be a fair statement to say that would be detrimental to?
Yes, sir.
So
Good question. And I say that you asked that question in a meeting where we also made other moves in the form of the ordinance to protect the roads that are there, and they do a good job in keeping up to shape. So I think that's critical. I get asked more about roads than anything.
and I was dealing with, every day I deal with a road issue, so.
You're right. I mean, we get calls every day about somebody wanting to know, why aren't you getting, it's been 15 years since you've been up our road.
Heard that
Why aren't you
today.
here? How long is it going to be? Another 15 years? And, what do you say? We're trying to get to.
Normally I can prove it's been less than that, but.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
a
I
constant
understand.
battle, and especially in my area, like you were talking about the road weight limits and such. We have the farmers out through there hauling constantly and large tractors, large 100,000-pound pulling tanks of ammonia or whatever they're doing, and it tears them up.
Well, and I know before there was a 60-40 split that we got more toward roads at one time than economic development, and that helped our road infrastructure a lot, but that has since gone away and we're back to a 50-50 split. And looking out 10 years in our paving, or not only just our paving and bridge projects, but also our federal aid projects, and how they are, how when the matches, it's time for construction matches, and the 4.9 million I think we get a year for roads, that adds up over time. And once we spend our 2.4 million for paving, and as you go out the years of construction matches, I think in 2027 right now, we would have a total less than $300,000 available in edit funding if everything is spent and we get all of our budget that year reimbursed appropriately and not have any overruns. So we're kind of tight in 2027 as it is right now, even though that line item may look like it's got a surplus in it now. It does not. Those funds are all accounted for in future projects that are already on the books.
So just for the record, when you look at highways and roads and county roads and investment in infrastructure and maintenance, you're not just looking a year ahead or 2 years ahead. You take this out to, you just said 2027.
Yes, I look at it further as far as what our federal aid projects are and when they're coming, as far as when federal money's available on those ends. And then I have a set amount. We use a program through the NPO that you look at so much dollars paving goes into your program per year, what your overall road network rating would be, and maintaining average is around the $2 million a year to maintain. So once you strike off money off of that, 2.4 is roughly what I'm doing, and we're the only one that has not deteriorated since 2015 in the NPO area that
Great job.
aware of.
So another question, where does your money come from to purchase I don't know the dollar amount of equipment you have out there, but I know it's in the millions. Where does that money come from?
We get that from local road and street fund.
Okay.
That's the local road street fund, and then motor vehicle highway does some of the road maintenance, pothole patching, things like that.
So you got a couple different buckets where you get that from.
Yeah.
Okay.
But none of that, those are all typical maintenance. Those aren't capital projects. The lit tax takes care of all the capital projects.
So if the lit tax would be reduced in any way and you had to make repairs or repave a road, I'm just trying to figure out where that money would come from.
I don't know.
Okay. No more questions.
Very good. Thank you. Good questions. Next item on the agenda is our county purchasing agent, Joe.
Joe Grassman, Purchasing Manager. I was asked by the commissioners to get quotes to install new automatic isolation valves over in the Judicial Center in the cooling tower water piping system. The reason I think being that these valves would hopefully protect the building from some of the issues we've had in the past with leakage and be sort of a safety valves come, so to speak, for the water system. So I issued 3 invitations to quote 3 different local companies: Haas Company, Shekel, and Dyke Brothers. All 3 of these companies came and were given a walkthrough. All 3 were given prints and the scope of work and specifications from 3i engineers, so they all are bidding exactly the same thing. However, only 2 of them decided that at the final analysis to bid. Those 2 companies, I have their quotes here, which I'll open and read. By virtue of the code that I used to bid this was Indiana Code 36-1-12-4.7, which is quotes for public works between the dollar values of $50,000 and $150,000. The award verification for this particular Indiana code is the award would project should be awarded to lowest responsive bidder. On that note, I'll open these 2 bids, starting with Dyke Brothers. And I don't know why Haas didn't bid. They were involved in it up to the last second. So who knows? So I'm just going to read you their quotes, okay? And if you want to, well, we can talk about award later, but right now I'm just going to read the numbers that their dollar values that they're quoting. And there's 2 bids on each quote. One for after hours service, if they want to do it, on a weekend or after we close at 4 o'clock some evening, or during regular business hours quote. So we're talking here about Dyke Brothers. Their option number 1 was after hours quote, $72,000. Option number 2, to do the project during regular business hours, their quote is $64,950. Second quote is from J.E. Shekel Incorporated. Okay. J.E. Shekel, after option 1, after hours, total quote $9,900.
Wait a minute.
That was the after hours?
That was the after hours, $9,900. Don't give me that look, because I can't explain it either. Like I explained earlier, they all three bid exactly the same thing. So let me give you their option two during regular business hours, $7,600, $7,600. I wish I had an explanation. I don't.
Yeah.
Like
Something wrong.
The valves would be
So,
So I mean,
Joe, is this, are they automated, are they tied to automation? To alarm to automatically shut off?
That I don't know. All I know is they were supposed to be automatic, and somehow we would be alerted, and then we would, and then we
Yeah.
would do whatever it takes to open or shut them.
Yeah. So each one of these valves have to have an actuator on them. So I would think, valves and actuators alone would be
More than that.
in that range.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know.
What part of the labor comes in?
Well, I mean, I can contact Mr. Gander. Well, Mr. Gander, actually the guy that did the walkthrough, is no longer with Shekel, but I can call them and find out. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
That could be a reason.
They were all given exactly. They were all given exactly the same information. So, I mean, they have prints and everything. I mean, and they have a scope of work.
That was from our engineer, 3I.
Yeah, from an engineer. We went over there, we got up in the ceiling, they took pictures and everything. It wasn't like didn't have a clue what they were gonna do. So, I'm at a loss for words.
If I had somebody bidding for me like that, they probably wouldn't work for me long either.
I make a motion to take these under advisement.
Yeah.
And,
So are we approving this for taking it under advisement or no?
I think we just need to take it under advisement.
Yeah. Find out more from them.
I agree. Second.
first and a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
Okay, the other item on the, I put that on there a while back thinking we might be a little further along with that project. We're not really. So if we could just take that off the agenda, and when we do get ready, we get all the information necessary, then I'll bring it back.
Very good.
The gut deals thing?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Sheriff, anything? Mr. Saylor?
I have nothing.
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0.
About 5:34, Christine.
That makes sense.